good representatives of your firm, then they'll associate, well, I want to work for the company that guy or gal's working for, because, yeah, that looks like a good place to be.
Got it. And at a single time, how many schools did you say you had within your network?
At the university level, we probably had 12 across the U.S. At the high school level, probably about 6 or 8, and that's probably where we spent the least amount of energy. That was morely, the high school level stuff was mostly done to be a good citizen in the community, because we don't hire many high school graduates. At the trade school level, we probably had 6, and those were probably the most heavily, I'll say, investment by our company as far as providing curriculum and instructors. And then we had one school that we actually staffed ourselves and we ran ourselves. That was specifically for construction welding. But that's a different animal. Because we didn't partner with anybody yet.
Sorry, and across this network, how many graduates would you say you had per year?
That's a good question. At the trade school level, we would typically hire a couple hundred a year. At the university level, probably about 100 a year.
And is there a reason why you've differentiated between the trade school level and the university level? And looking at the nature of the business that you're in, I'm kind of thinking, why did you partner with universities if the trade school level was giving you skilled labor?
Yeah, with the university level, we needed for engineers. So for degreed engineering people was why we partnered with universities.
Got it. And then trades was exclusively more skilled trades?
Yeah, skilled trades, carpenters, welders, yeah.
Got it. Is there, I guess, any advice you would give for someone who is starting out, building out this network themselves, reaching out to education partners, any issues and risks, advice of what a pilot would look like?
Yeah, what I would suggest is start small and kind of learn as you go. I don't know specifically what you're looking for as far as graduates, because some don't spend money when you don't have to spend it. I think every company has budget issues. So, some of the relationships we had with some of the trade schools was really nothing more than us providing them material. It was actually branded material that they actually used in their classes, and that also gets your name out there. And some in regions where we had a much higher demand is where we provide people to do lectures and actually instructors. So you spend your money where it has the biggest bang for the buck, and you'll figure that out as you do it. I guess the other thing is, make sure when you're talking with the university, you talk to someone that's in a decision-making level, and it's usually not the instructor. It has to be someone in the administration of the school that can actually say yes or no to whatever plan you want to put in place. And like I said, I would go in with the smaller plan and let it grow as the relationship grows and as the students they're producing actually are the kind of guys and gals you want to hire. So the success of the program would lead to more investment by you guys.
Mm-hmm. So,
but I would start small. It's like pick one school and see if it works for you guys.
Okay. So if we picked one school, and maybe you can draw parallels with your experience, what would you advise in terms of after the pilot? How did that replicate towards the rest of the network and scaling from one school to your current network of what's almost 25?
Yeah, what we found, you have to have someone within your firm that either because it's part of their job or it's a portfolio role they really want to have, has to expend the energy to build a relationship with that school. So there's going to be a lot of time spent of that individual at the school. So whether it's meeting with their administration or doing stuff with the students, it's a pretty big commitment of time of a person per school. So we called them, they were sponsors. They were the school sponsor, and they actually had kind of as part of their performance, we had a list of things that they needed to do to be the school sponsor, and it was actually part of their job. So it wasn't like we were expecting them to do it on their spare time. But you need to find someone that wants to do that kind of stuff, as opposed to someone that has to do it because it's their job. Because there's going to be there'll be times when they'll be having, to probably spend some of their own time to do stuff with the students if that's what's needed.
So, for the school sponsors, was that something that your company had hired? And from what it sounds like, it was one sponsor per school. Is that correct?
Yeah, the way we organized, let's say our office in Houston, we had about 3,000 employees, and so we had our head of community relations was actually the person that was responsible for organizing the outreach to the schools. So, and then we actually asked executives that had some ability to schedule their time, so they had some free time, and we had enough executives that wanted to do it. So the executives that were identified actually were assigned to a school, and their responsibility was to build a relationship and produce these kind of deliverables as part of their assignment. It wasn't really part of their day job, but it was part of what they were evaluated on. I don't know if that makes sense. So, but the whole program was core. We actually were a big enough office in Houston that we had a full-time community relations person, and we ran the program under her. So, because she had the time to organize a lot of the paperwork-related aspects. And then each office would roll. We had quarterly reports that went all the way to corporate. So, so I think that the executives did it because they thought, and they actually did. They get, we're big on people development at our company, so it actually counted towards their individual goals for helping to develop people if they were a sponsor of one of the schools. So it helped them fulfill one of the requirements as an executive around people development.
So you had one full-time community development overseer, right, and then you had a number of other executives who it seems like they had their normal day jobs, but sort of as an assigned responsibility, they were assigned one particular school to sponsor that relationship.
Yeah, and then on that's how we handled some. Then we had our construction organization actually took the lead at the trade schools that were developing mostly welders. That was mostly led by our construction organization. And we had a training group within our construction organization that did our own training for welders, carpenters, etc. And so it was done actually in the training group, and it was actually part of somebody's job in the construction organization. Because they were doing training anyway. And so they just extended their job to also include the training that was happening. And it was really only 2 schools that we actually did that level of training of welders and carpenters.
And would you say carpentry and welders were the predominant trade that you were looking for? Is there any trade that had priority, and what were the reasons behind it?
Yeah, welders had the priority because it was hard to find, because we build petrochemical plants and refineries, and the level of welding skill that's required is pretty high. So there was a shortage of welders. It still is today. And so by us helping the trade schools produce welders, they still weren't good enough to weld in a refinery, but they had the skills that you could build upon in one of our own company-run welding schools. But so it got them like the prerequisites of their basic welding done. Otherwise, it was just too long and too hard to get welders qualified to weld. So the biggest part of our investment was on welders.
Got it. And in terms of the partnerships you built with the trade schools, were they? I know it was the motivation was done on a regional basis. But would you say